So welcome to Yin Yoga today. Oops, there's one more person coming. And for today's practice, I took another book by Pema Chödron because when I once read from one of her books, you really responded to it and resonated with it. And this is really like I have two books from her, and this is the other one that's the most famous one actually, which is called When Things Fall Apart. And it's really a beautiful book. And it's, again, I grabbed the book and I was just like opening the book, and there was like 6 kinds of loneliness. And then I was starting to read about it, and I thought, oh, this fits actually perfect, because I know some of you are also really doing this whole quarantine situation all by yourselves. And she says, usually we regard loneliness as an enemy. Heartache is not something we choose to invite in. It's restless and pregnant and hot with the desire to escape and find something or someone to keep us company. When we can rest in the middle, we begin to have a non-threatening relationship with loneliness, a relaxing and cooling loneliness that completely turns our usual fearful patterns upside down. So I think this fits perfect with our Yin Yoga practice, because I feel it's our nature that we always want to fix things and control things and run away from pain and not really sit with it. And I feel Yin Yoga is all about staying present with what is and accepting whatever is. And, you know, no matter if that's your loneliness or your anger or your fear or, you know, your compassion, your love, whatever is going on for you. So I'm going to be reading from this book today and hope it's going to inspire your practice. When we do Yin Yoga, it's all about letting go of this wanting to control, and rather to really stay in the pose for about 5 minutes and to really dive in by closing the eyes, by breathing deeply, and by just feeling the sensations of the pose. The focus for today's practice is going to be on the upper body, heart and shoulders, because this is also, you know, where we always tend to protect ourselves. And this is where we can close down. And this is really nice to feel this opening. And Yin Yoga is really beautiful also to open the chest. The shoulders are considered the wings of the heart. So think of it as a practice also to spread your wings, so that any contraction or any feeling small changes into a more expansive. Oh, there you go. There we have wings. More expansive, open feeling. So I'd like to start in a meditation. So if you please find a comfortable seat and close your eyes. And take a moment here to arrive. And what does that mean? It means arriving in your body and trying to let go of any busyness in the mind. And to connect by checking in with yourself. And you can do so by starting at the crown of your head and then slowly softening from the crown of your head, softening your forehead, letting your eyes fall back into the sockets, softening your jaw, resting your tongue with no effort. And with every exhale, really feeling the shoulders lengthening and melting down away from your ears. And keep scanning your body from your head to your toes. Take a extra moment at the center of your chest, your heart, to just see what's going on. How does space feel today? Feel into the front of your heart, feel into the back of your heart. And keep scanning further down, softening your diaphragm, solar plexus area, your ribs, and softening your belly, And softening your seat, maybe rocking a little bit back and forth. Good. And then once you feel connected and rooted down to the earth, just take a moment to lengthen, shoulders soft, face soft. Take a big breath in and exhale through the mouth. And I want to start with a little breathing exercise because really the breath is your best tool in the yin. So as you inhale, imagine you're inhaling through the left nostril, crossing over the bridge of the nose, and then exhaling through the right nostril. And then from here, inhale through the right nostril, crossing over the bridge of the nose and exhaling through the left nostril. And keep going in your own rhythm, inhaling through the left, crossing over, exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right, crossing over, exhaling through the left. Take your time, nice and slow. You can count, but if you feel it's quite balanced, you don't need to count your breathing. At some point, maybe you will become aware of the observer, yourself watching you breathing. So it's as if you're like watching yourself maybe from a bird's eye view, or you're stepping a little bit back and you're just watching yourself sitting there breathing and how the breath flows up and down through each nostril. And this is kind of where we want to spend the time, in this observing position. We're not reacting or responding to the breath or to anything that's going on. We're just watching quietly. Next time, when you exhale through the left nostril, slowly release your attention on the breath. And then slowly bring your hands together in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And maybe your thumbs are touching to your heart space. And just take a moment to feel your heartbeat. And then let's chant one sound of Om together. Let's make it a yin sound of Om. Nice big breath in. Om. And then slowly release your hands and gently open your eyes. All right. So I'm going to move back to my mat. So for Yin Yoga, again, we're going to hold the poses an average of 3 to 5 minutes. You want to feel a little bit of sensation, but nothing crazy. So if something feels too much, you can back off. If something feels too little, you go a little bit deeper. And the indication is always the breath. For the first pose, I'd like you to take your blanket, if you have one, and roll it up, not too thick, kind of comfortable. And then you can place a block or a couple of books underneath the top where your head would go. And then you come to sit in front and lie back. Oops, this is actually a little bit too long for me. So you want to bring the soles of the feet together, lie back with your head comfortably resting on the books or the block, so a little bit higher than your spine, and then your shoulders kind of drape around your blanket. It could also be a rolled up yoga mat, anything you have. And then just let the shoulders melt. Turn your palms to face up. If you feel it's too much on your groins, on your inner thighs, you can place pillows or whatever you have underneath your thighs. So give yourself support. And this is a really beautiful, gentle heart opener and hip opener at the same time. We're going to be here for about 5 minutes. So closing the eyes, taking this time to arrive in your practice, in your body, in your space. Enjoy. For those of you who joined later, I'm going to be reading from the book When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chödron. She's a Buddhist nun, and it's a beautiful book. And I picked a chapter called 6 Kinds of Loneliness. In the middle way, there's no reference point. The mind with no reference point does not resolve itself, does not fixate or grasp. How could we possibly have no reference point? To have no reference point would be to change a deep-seated habitual response to the world, wanting to make it work out one way or the other. If I can't go left or right, I will die. When we don't go left or right, we feel like we are in a detox center. We're alone cold turkey with all the edginess that we've been trying to avoid by going left or right. That edginess can feel pretty heavy. However, years and years of going to the left or right, going to yes or no, going to right or wrong has never really changed anything. Scrambling for security has never brought anything but momentary joy. It's like changing the position of our legs in meditation. Our legs hurt from sitting cross-legged, so we move them, and then we feel, whew, what a relief. But 2.5 minutes later, we want to move them again. We keep moving around, seeking pleasure, seeking comfort, and the satisfaction that we get is very short-lived. So I invite you for your practice today to really stay still. Notice when you have the urge to move, if it is an impulse that is physical, emotional, psychological, and then see if you can resist responding to that impulse. So if you can just rather stay without reacting, without changing. And if you can just stay and breathe deeply. Find something that keeps you present, and that usually the best tool is your breath. So when you feel your mind is drifting off, either come back to the sensations in your body or to feeling your breathing. In Yin Yoga, you want to feel a nice sensation. You want to come to your edge. You don't want to feel pain, and you don't necessarily want to feel absolutely no sensation. So this is also the key of the practice, to be kind of in between no sensation and too much sensation. You have about 1 minute to go here. Fill it with nice deep breathing. Take your last 3 breaths. And then when you feel ready, slowly find your way back up by rolling over onto the side first and then coming up to seated. so that you can move the props out of your way. Good. And then you're going to come onto your hands and knees. So take your time to get here. From here with your knees underneath your hips and your shoulders right underneath your shoulders right above your wrist. You're gonna just inhale and let the belly drop and look up, and then exhale, draw the belly in and round your spine. And do that a couple of times, inhaling, arching, and exhaling, rounding. And then the last time, inhaling, arching. This time as you exhale, bring your knees nice and wide and come back into child's pose. Take a moment here, just wiggling your hips a little bit side to side to stretch out. And breathing into your back body and into your belly. Belly releases down towards the floor. So now keep in mind this distance. Grab your blocks if you have some, or anything else that can work to give a little height to your arms. And then you want to bring your blocks a little bit closer so that you can place your arms on top of your elbows, on top of the block, but your head can go down in front of the blocks. So now this helps to release your arms and your shoulders. Armpits are melting down towards the floor. Now, if this is too much in any way, you can modify. If you don't have any props, you could also use your blanket on books any way that you can bring your hands higher. If you don't have any of these, and you can just do like kind of a puppy pose and just either come here and let your heart melt. That works too. Or be on your fingertips and let the heart melt. So find your way. And I have the timer. And here we're going to be a little bit less, about 3 minutes. We hear a lot about the pain of samsara. Samsaras are like recurrent thoughts, and and we also hear about liberation. But we don't hear much about how painful it is to go from being completely stuck to becoming unstuck. The process of becoming unstuck requires tremendous bravery, because basically we are completely changing our way of perceiving reality, like changing our DNA. We are undoing a pattern that is not just our pattern, it's the human pattern. We project onto the world a zillion possibilities of attaining resolution. We can have whiter teeth, we can have a weed-free lawn, a strife-free life, a world without embarrassment. We can live happily ever after. But this pattern keeps us dissatisfied and causes us a lot of suffering. As human beings, not only do we seek resolution, but we also feel that we deserve resolution. However, not only do we not deserve resolution, we suffer from resolution. We don't deserve resolution. We deserve something better than that. We deserve our birthright, which is the middle way, an open state of mind that can relax with paradox and ambiguity. To the degree that we've been avoiding uncertainty, we're naturally going to have withdrawal symptoms. Withdrawal from always thinking that there's a problem and that someone somewhere needs to fix it. So catch yourself how many times you're trying to make an adjustment to the pose you're in, to your clothes, to your hair, to whatever you are experiencing. And we have 30 more seconds here. Fill them with nice, deep breathing. And then take your last breath. And when you are ready to come out of the pose, very slowly come back up. Take your props out. Place your hands underneath your shoulders. Tuck your toes. And then lift your knees and your hips up and back and come into a downward facing dog. And just take a moment here to stretch out your legs. Good. All right, and then from here, bend both knees so you can touch your belly to your thighs, and then inhale like a wave, roll forward. So this is a little bit more yang, and as you exhale, come back, belly touches your thighs, and again, inhale, roll forward, exhaling back. Next time, inhale, roll forward, and then exhale, come all the way down onto your belly. And we are coming into the next pose, which is Sphinx pose. So ideally, you're gonna bring your elbows underneath your shoulders like this. Your legs are completely relaxed. Your feet are falling out to the side. Remember, we're not engaging muscles when we're doing Yin Yoga. And we're gonna let the heart melt. If this feels too intense on your back, you can make it less intense by walking your arms forward. You could also place a pillow underneath your ribs, which might feel really nice and soft. So you explore the first minute or so, which pose is the right pose for you. What you want to feel is a mild compression in your lower back and a nice stretch along the front lines of your body. This is your stomach and spleen meridian. And again, remember, face is soft. You keep your head lifted a little bit. Close the eyes and then breathe here. Face completely soft. I'm going to put the timer. Emma says, the middle way is wide open, but it's tough going because it goes against the grain of an ancient neurotic pattern that we all share. When we feel lonely, when we feel hopeless, what we want to do is move to the right or to the left. We don't want to sit and feel what we feel. We don't want to go through the detox. Yet the middle way encourages us to do just that. It encourages us to awaken the bravery that exists in everyone without exception, including you and me. Meditation provides a way for us to train in the middle way, in staying right on the spot. We are encouraged not to judge whatever arises in our mind. In fact, we are encouraged not to even grasp whatever arises in our mind. What we usually call good or bad, we simply acknowledge as thinking, without all the usual drama that goes along with right and wrong. We are instructed to let the thoughts come and go, as if touching a bubble with a feather. This straightforward discipline prepares us to stop struggling and discover a fresh, unbiased state of being. So, how is that going for you? The non-judging, is that something challenging? Is that something that you really feel is getting better? Is that something that maybe gets better from doing your Yin Yoga? Because I feel Yin Yoga and meditation are both very similar practices in exactly cultivating this observation, acceptance, softening. qualities. Keep breathing, keep softening, especially your face. You have 30 more seconds here. At any time, you can exhale through the mouth, which also always feels really good. And then take your last big breath here. And when you are ready to release, no rush, very slowly, move your arms forward. Make a little pillow with your hands and just rest and breathe. Feel the release in your lower back. And fill that place, that space with your breath, your attention. And then wiggle your hips. So notice also if you have the desire to right away always adjust the pose or neutralize, can you just stay with the sensation? Now we're doing a nice little counter pose. You're going to turn your head to the right. You're going to bring your right knee all the way up in line with your hip and your right ankle in line with the right knee. So you feel like a half Spider-Man, half a frog. And you let your groin melt down towards the floor. This should feel really, really nice. And really consciously letting go of the right groin, taking your time. Breathing into the belly, remembering to keep your eyes soft, face soft. Good, and then take 3 more breaths here. And with the 3rd breath, straighten your right leg all the way long and wiggle your hips side to side. We're going to come back into the same pose, Sphinx pose. So stay here again for another 2 minutes, or the option is if you feel like you could go deeper, bring your hands further out for seal pose. You see now my legs, my arms are straight and a little bit wider. My head is still lifted and I let my heart melt. And I get a deeper sensation in my lower back. If this feels too much, you can always come back to the previous pose, Sphinx pose, okay? So Sphinx or seal, you choose. Wherever you are, make sure your buttocks are relaxed, your feet, your legs are relaxed. Your face is soft, your eyes are closed, and you can rest and sink deeper. The experience of certain feelings can seem particularly pregnant with desire for resolution, loneliness, boredom, anxiety. Unless we can relax with these feelings, it's very hard to stay in the middle when we experience them. We want victory or defeat, praise or blame. For example, if somebody abandons us, we don't want to be with that raw discomfort. Instead, we conjure up a familiar identity of ourselves as a hapless victim. Or maybe we avoid the rawness by acting out and righteously telling the person how messed up he or she is. We automatically want to cover over the pain in one way or another, identifying with victory or victimhood. Twenty more seconds. Fill them with nice deep breath. You always have the option to exhale through the mouth, which feels really nice. Remember also, you can always smile, which will also help to soften your experience. And then when you feel ready with your next breath, slowly release. And once again, just rest your head onto your hands. Do not change anything yet. Just feel the release in your lower back, your belly. Take a couple of nice deep breaths into it. Good. And then from here, wiggle your hips. Let's come into Spider-Man on this side. So you turn your head to the left. You bring your knee in line with your left hip. Your ankle in line with the knee. And then just breathe here and release. Eyes closed, soft breath, soft face. Enjoy. Notice if maybe at this point in your practice, it's already a little easier to relax into the poses. If there's any impulse to change, is it physical? Is it emotional? Just become aware of where your mind tends to go in this practice. And you might find a pattern here. Thirty more seconds. And then take another nice big breath in and exhale to release. Good. Straighten your left leg all the way to the floor again and bring your forehead back onto your hands. Now come up onto your elbows. We want to do now a stretch for the upper arm and the outer arm. So bring your left hand in front and slide your right arm underneath. So now you see how my shoulder is on the floor. My right palm is facing up. And then I start walking my left fingertips forward. So what you might have to do to feel this is to tuck your toes and kind of rock yourself 1 more inch forward. You may have to put a pillow underneath your forehead, or maybe you are okay resting your forehead on the floor. Now, if you don't feel any stretch here, you might have to walk that left hand more forward. Or maybe you feel really open in your arm. So we're not gonna be here forever. This is just a shorter pose, but it's a beautiful stretch for the upper right arm. Breathe deeply. And take 3 more breaths here. Press into your left hand, and when you're ready, slide your right arm out underneath again. Good. Let's switch right away. Bring your right hand forward. Slide your left arm underneath. Your palm can face up. Walk your fingertips forward. You might have to tuck your toes and just rock yourself 1 more inch forward. Keep lengthening and reaching through the right fingertips. Feel the stretch in the outer left shoulder. Support your head if you need to, and then breathe, breathe, breathe. Nice big breath. Let's take 3 more breaths here. Good, and then slowly press into the right hand. Slide your left arm out, and then walk your hands back and come back into child's pose. This time, bring your knees together so that you get a little bit more rounding in the spine, and bring your arms next to your body so your shoulders can completely relax. Take a couple of deep breaths into your back. Good, and then roll yourself all the way back up to seated. Come over to sit on one side and straighten your legs in front of you. Take them out. Good. We're coming into the next pose. Have your blocks ready. Good. And we're going to do shoelace pose. So you bring your right knee over the left leg. So left leg is straight, right knee is on top. And then you can place your head onto a block and just let your arms hang. You can go as high or as low, of course, with your blocks. Those of you who feel really open in the hips, you can come right away into the full shoelace pose where you bend both knees. I'll show you from the front. The right knee is on top and you have your feet going out to the sides. And those of you in full shoelace pose, bring your right arm over your left arm. If you like, you can add a little stretch for the shoulders and then fold forward here. And if this is too much, you can always back off and also do the pose, bringing your hands forward. So you decide where you want to be here. Remember, how do you know that you're in the right pose? You want to have a soft sensation, nothing crazy, no sharp pain ever. If your arm falls asleep or your leg falls asleep, for sure, come out of the pose. And then think deeper with your breathing. Usually we regard loneliness as an enemy. Heartache is not something we choose to invite in. It's restless and pregnant and hot with the desire to escape and find something or someone to keep us company. When we can rest in the middle, we begin to have a non-threatening relationship with loneliness, a relaxing and cooling loneliness that completely turns our usual fearful patterns upside down. There are 6 ways of describing this kind of cool loneliness. They are less desire, contentment, avoiding unnecessary activity, complete discipline, not wandering in the world of desire, and not seeking security from one's discursive thoughts. Less desire is the willingness to be lonely without resolution, when everything in us yearns for something to cheer up and change our mood. Practicing this kind of loneliness is a way of sowing seeds so that fundamental restlessness decreases. In meditation, for example, every time we label thinking instead of getting endlessly run around by our thoughts, we are training in just being here without dissociation. We can't do that now to the degree that we weren't willing to do it yesterday or the day before or last week or last year. After we practice less desire wholeheartedly and consistently, something shifts. We feel less desire in the sense of being less solidly seduced by our very important storylines. So even if the hot loneliness is there, and for 1.6 seconds we sit with that restlessness when yesterday we couldn't sit for even one, that's the journey of the warrior. That's the path of bravery. The less we spin off and go crazy, the more we taste the satisfaction of cool loneliness. As the Zen master Katagiri Roshi often said, one can be lonely and not be tossed away by it. So wherever you are, we have 1 more minute here. If you need to make any adjustments, feel free. If you can think deeper, enjoy thinking deeper. Good. And then take 3 more breaths here. And with your 3rd breath, very slowly come out of the pose. Uncross your legs if they were crossed. Straighten your right leg. And then just take a moment. Just wiggle your legs. Maybe even use your hands. Always feels nice. Good. All right. Now we get ready for the other side. Keep your right leg straight. Cross your left knee over your right leg. Take your prop if you want to stay here. Rest your head, rest your arms, and breathe. Next variation would be crossing both legs. Left knee on top of the right knee, feet out to the side, maybe sitting tall, maybe walking the hands forward, or if you want to do the arms, now it would be left arm over right, and then you fold forward and stay here and breathe into the back body. So whichever variation you choose, eyes closed, breathe deeply. At any time, exhale through the mouth. That feels always good. The second kind of loneliness is contentment. When we have nothing to lose. We don't have anything to lose, but being programmed in our guts to feel that we have a lot to lose. Our feeling that we have a lot to lose is rooted in fear of loneliness, of change, of anything that can't be resolved, of non-existence. The hope that we can avoid this feeling and the fear that we can't become our reference point. When we draw a line down the center of a page, we know who we are if we're on the right side and who we are if we're on the left side. But we don't know who we are when we don't put ourselves on either side. Then we just don't know what to do. We just don't know. We have no reference point, no hand to hold. At that point, we can either freak out or settle in. Contentment is a synonym for loneliness, cool loneliness, settling down with cool loneliness. We give up believing that being able to escape our loneliness is going to bring any lasting happiness or joy or sense of well-being or courage or strength. Usually we have to give up this belief about 1 billion times again and again, making friends with our jumpiness and dread, doing the same old thing 1 billion times with awareness. Then, without our even noticing, something begins to shift. We can just be lonely with no alternatives, content to be right here with the mood and texture of what's happening. Thirty more seconds on this side. Using your breath to bring you back to the middle. Watching for any sensations. And then take one last breath. Exhale through the mouth. And unfold from however you were in the pose. Straighten your legs and shake them out. Use your hands, shake out your muscles. Good. And then come to lie on your back. So this time we're just lying flat on the back. Good. Bring your feet underneath your knees, hip distance apart. When you stretch your arms, feel that your middle finger is touching to the heels. And then from here, we do some dynamic bridges. Press into the feet, inhale, float your arms and your hips up. And as you exhale, come back down. And do that a couple more times, as slow as you can, maybe on a breath of 5 or even more. And 2 more times. Pushing really actively into the feet, lifting up, exhaling, coming down. And then 1 more time, inhaling, lifting all the way up, and exhaling to release. Hug the knees into your chest now, rock a little bit back and forth. Hands onto your knees, start to move your knees in circles. Switch direction. Good. All right, and now a couple of options. We're going to come into a twist. Easy option, let your legs fall over to the left. Maybe place a block in between or underneath, whatever works for you, and just enjoy the twist. You can look straight up or you can look over to the right shoulder. For those of you wanting to go a little bit deeper, you can wrap your right leg over your left, move your hips 1 inch to the right, and then let your legs fall. And this will be a little bit more intense on your back. And then again, you either look up or you look to the right side. And this is called twisted roots. Find your twist. You can also play with how high or how low you want to bring the knees, because it will have a different effect on your back. The third kind of loneliness is avoiding unnecessary activities. When we're lonely in a hot way, we look for something to save us. We look for a way out. We get this squeezy feeling that we call loneliness, and our minds just go wild trying to come up with companions to save us from despair. That's called unnecessary activity. It's a way of keeping ourselves busy so we don't have to feel any pain. It could take the form of obsessively daydreaming of true romance, or turning a tidbit of gossip into the 6 o'clock news, or even going off by ourselves into the wilderness. The point is that in all these activities, we are seeking companionship in our usual habitual way, using our same old repetitive ways of distancing ourselves from the demon loneliness. Could we just settle down and have some compassion and respect for ourselves? Could we stop trying to escape from being alone with ourselves? What about practicing not jumping and grabbing when we begin to panic? Relaxing with loneliness is a worthy occupation. As the Japanese poet Ryokan says, if you want to find the meaning, stop chasing after so many things. One more minute to go. And I feel so far I can relate to all of it a little bit. So I've experienced all these different types of behavior, of feeling. But everything has its time. It's also interesting to see under which circumstances we tend to act in which way. I'll take 3 more breaths here. Your time is flying today. And with your third breath, engage your core a little bit to lift the legs back up to the middle. And then right away, choose your variation and let the knees fall over to the right. Now, if you wanted to do the twisted roots version, you would place now your left leg over your right and take your hips over 1 inch to the left before you let the legs fall over to the right. Take your time, no rush. When you're ready, find your twist on the right side. And we say in Yin always to take maybe the first minute or so to really kind of settle into the pose, to find the edge and then resolve to stay. Complete discipline is another component of cool loneliness. Complete discipline means that at every opportunity, we're willing to come back, just gently come back to the present moment. This is loneliness as complete discipline. We're willing to sit still, just to be here alone. We don't particularly have to cultivate this kind of loneliness. We could just sit still long enough to realize it's how really things are. We are fundamentally alone, and there's nothing anywhere to hold onto. Moreover, this is not a problem. In fact, it allows us to finally discover a completely unfabricated state of being. Our habitual assumptions all our ideas about how things are, keep us from seeing anything in a fresh, open way. We say, oh yes, I know, but we don't know. We don't ultimately know anything. There's no certainty about anything. This basic truth hurts and we want to run away from it. But coming back and relaxing with something as familiar as loneliness is good discipline for realizing the profundity of the unresolved moments of our lives. We are cheating ourselves when we run away from the ambiguity of loneliness. Stay with your breath. 30 more seconds. Really feeling like your breath goes into all the places where you feel maybe a little bit of tightness. So lower back kidneys is a really great place to breathe into. And then take your last big breath. And when you're ready, engage your core a little bit to bring your knees back to the middle. And just hug them into your chest again. Rock a little bit back and forth, massaging. Lift your forehead towards your knee for a moment. Make yourself very, very, very small and rock a little bit side to side. Feel how that massages your middle back. Good. And then from here, rock yourself all the way up and just a few times, just rock up and down. Good. And then come up to seated. I'll move back a little bit. And we come into our last pose before Shavasana. And I'd like you to have your blocks and maybe sit on your blanket or pillow. It feels actually really nice to elevate your seat a little bit here. Let your feet fall open. Have your feet, as wide as you like. So you can bring them as wide as your mat or somewhere in the middle. This pose is called caterpillar pose and it's a forward fold. And the way I like to do it is using 2 blocks. So I can rest my forehead and my arms can rest on my legs. Of course, this could also be much higher, depending how you feel. Or you could bring, if your legs are wider, you could bring your elbows onto the block, let the feet fall out and rest your head in your hands. If you feel you cannot fold forward comfortably at all, it's too much for your back, you could also come to lie on your back against the wall and bring your legs up the wall, which is pretty much the same. So that could look like, I only have the couch here, but you would go very close to the wall and then just rest here against the wall. And that feels really, really nice too. So you choose. This is the last pose for today. Really sink deeply into your breath. Listen. Notice what's going on here. And I'm reading you the last part of the book, of the chapter. Not wandering in the world of desire is another way of describing cool loneliness. Wandering in the world of desire involves looking for alternatives, seeking something to comfort us, food, drink, people. The word desire encompasses that addiction quality, the way we grab for something because we want to find a way to make things okay. That quality comes from never having grown up. We still want to go home and be able to open the refrigerator and find it full of our favorite goodies. When the going gets tough, we want to yell, "Mom!" But what we're doing as we progress along the path is leaving home and becoming homeless. Not wandering in the world of desire is about relating directly with how things are. Loneliness is not a problem. Loneliness is nothing to be solved. And the same is true for any other experience we might have. Another aspect is not seeking security from one's discursive thoughts. The rug has been pulled, the jig is up, there's no way to get out of this one. We don't even seek the companionship of our own constant conversation with ourselves about how it is and how it isn't, whether it is or whether it isn't, whether it should or whether it shouldn't, whether it can or whether it can't. With cool loneliness, we do not expect security from our own internal chatter. That's why we are instructed to label it thinking. It has no objective reality. It is transparent and ungraspable. We are encouraged to just touch that shadow and let it go, not make much ado about nothing. Cool loneliness allows us to look honestly and without aggression at our own minds. We can gradually drop our ideas of who we think we ought to be, who we think we want to be, or who we think other people think we want to be or ought to be. We give it up and just look directly with compassion and humor at who we are. Then loneliness is no threat and heartache, no punishment. Cool loneliness doesn't provide any resolution or give us ground under our feet. It challenges us to step into a world of no reference point without polarizing or solidifying. This is called the middle way or the sacred path of the warrior. When you wake up in the morning and out of nowhere comes the heartache of alienation and loneliness, could you use that as a golden opportunity? Rather than persecuting yourself or feeling that something terribly wrong is happening, right there in the moment of sadness and longing, could you relax and touch the limitless space of the human heart? The next time you get a chance, experiment with this. So take 3 more breaths here. And then when you are ready to come out of the pose, lead from your head, because it's a piece that weighs most in your body. Lift up, remove anything from underneath you. And if you know that you like to take a blanket for Shavasana underneath your knees, have that already ready, and slowly, slowly roll onto your back. When you come here, once again, hug the knees into your chest very gently. Bring your feet up towards the sky, grab the outside of your feet, rock a little bit side to side. Happy baby pose, releasing your back. And then release, straighten your legs, and find your way into Shavasana. And move into stillness by completely softening your eyes, your jaw, your face. Feel into the center of your palms. Maybe you feel a little tingling here. Notice your whole body is relaxed. And slowly begin to deepen your breathing. And gently move your fingers, your toes. Stretch your arms over your head. A good long stretch. And bend the knees. Hug them into your chest. Once again, rocking a little bit side to side, back and forth. And then roll over onto your left side when you're ready. And just stay here. Give yourself some time. No rush. Good. And when you feel ready, very, very slowly use your hands to push yourself back up into a nice, comfortable seat. And keep the eyes closed. And once again, take a moment to consciously soften the whole body from your head to your toes. And lift the corners of your mouth into a little smile and feel how that softens your whole body. And feel the effects of the practice today. And maybe what inspired you, what you're gonna take with you into the rest of your day, into your evening, to your week. And take your hands together in front of your heart for a moment of gratitude to yourself, choosing to practice today, rolling out your mat, being present here with me and everybody else on this Zoom call. Let's close and see. There was one last sound of Om, a Yin sound of Om, nice and soft. Big breath in. Om. And thank you so much for joining me today, for all your support and for showing up over and over again. So appreciate it. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you, guys.